Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Toni. Tips with Toni. Making you healthier one bite at a time. Tip with Toni. With Toni. Woo.
Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Toni podcast. I'm Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I wanted to talk about the people on Instagram who are showing off their abs and looking like, what we perceive as super healthy and super fit. But what they're not telling you is the diet behind it, their exercise regimen behind it. Most of the time, they're just showing off their body without telling you anything about what they're doing. And also, one thing I want to mention is that just because someone has a good body, it actually doesn't mean that they're going about their nutrition and their fitness in a healthy, sustainable way. So instead of me going on a rant and a tangent about this, I thought I'd bring on a very special guest. Her name is Lacey Dunn. She is a registered dietitian, and she actually helps people who are doing bikini competitions, and she teaches them the proper way to go about training and fixing their nutrition regimen, so not only they can compete and win, but also so that they don't do any damage to their bodies long term, because there's a lot of things that can happen to the body when we try to get to a low body fat percentage like that. If you stay there for too long, if you try to do it too quickly, she's going to talk all about that in this episode. So basically, this is an episode where if you've been thinking about doing a bikini competition, but you're not quite sure if it's for you, definitely listen to this episode before you go and spend time, money, and energy into doing something like that. It's a wonderful thing for those who do it and complete it, but Lacey's going to explain what definitely needs to be considered before you choose to do that, because it is a lot on the body, a lot on the mind, and it's a huge dedication. Like any competition, especially if you want to win, you're going to have to put the work in. So I'll let Lacey explain the rest. So without further ado, here's the interview with Lacey Dunn, registered dietitian, teaching you 5 things to consider before deciding to do a bikini competition. Hi, Lacey. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to have you on.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored. Normally I'm on the other side of the podcast, so it's interesting to be actually kind of quote unquote interviewed for this. So I'm stoked.
Yeah. Well, I definitely want to hear more about your podcast. But before we go into that, just let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Lacey Dunn. I am a registered dietitian with a master's degree in nutrition. I come from a background of both NPC bodybuilding competitions as well as cheerleading. And then my main goal is just helping people to build healthy, sustainable lifestyles. So I work with people who do NPC shows to doing just general lifestyle clients. Mm-hmm. And my Instagram, if nobody knows about it, is Faith and Fit. So I'm very much based in my faith, and I love Jesus. Mm-hmm. So that's who I am.
And cats.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I am a crazy cat lady.
Yeah, I was like, I need to have her on the podcast because 1, she's an awesome RD. But 2, she loves cats. And I'm spiritual as well. So I get it. I get the whole thing. I get it. And where are you based out of?
I am based out of Houston, Texas.
Very well. Did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in Peachtree City, Georgia. And then I moved to Athens, Georgia for my undergrad. I also went to University of Central Florida for my first year of college. And then I moved to Houston, Texas, and I'm not leaving Texas. I love Texas.
Oh.
Where it's the best.
That's awesome. But all the work you do is online, I'm assuming. I feel like that's the way of the world today.
Yes, it is. And you know what? I really want to move into private practice work, but it just doesn't work with how busy I am right now. Mm-hmm. I would love to take time to see clients one-on-one, but it doesn't work out.
So what do you do now? You do group stuff?
No, I do one-on-one, just not in person.
You mean virtually. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. To be honest, Lacey, I do it online one-on-one as well. And I've thought about it. I've actually looked at buildings in my town, but like practically, I just feel like, but busy or not, just the lifestyle, I feel like having to have this like one spot. I don't know if it makes sense, but I'm there with you. It's like, I want it.
Rent, it adds time.
Yeah.
It adds paperwork.
Like
so there's things you have to think about.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're ahead of the curve. I think that's going backwards. I think we're going forward.
I like to keep things simple, and I also like staying in my pajamas all day. So
it's the best thing ever. Okay, literally, I literally don't share this enough, and today I'm actually dressed, which is very few and far between. Like,
I'm
normally,
pajamas, so.
Well, yeah, normally I just have a shirt on and my pants are leggings or sweatpants. And sorry if this is TMI for people, but sometimes it's nothing. It's my underwear. Like, I'm not kidding. That's probably terrible. Oh, yeah. But like, I'm working from home in my bed. I'm like, literally my office is my bedroom. So it's just like, sometimes I just need to have like from here up needs to look good.
Yeah. Well, any opportunity not to wear a bra or not to wear pants, to me, it's like, yeah, count me in for that.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's just so funny. Oh my gosh. It's so funny. But anyways, so I am really curious, what made you want to become a registered dietitian? Was it after you did the competitions or, before? Like, how did that all, tell us that story.
Okay. So I originally started, I was a tiny little stickling. I still am a stickling because forever petite. But I started weight training in order to make the University of Central Florida Division I cheerleading team. And they weight trained for that. They had a lot more muscle base. So I had to learn to weight train in order to do that and put on some muscle. Well, in doing that, I did a lot of research in regards to nutrition and bodybuilding and weight training. And I was able to gain a little bit of muscle. And then I made the University of Central Florida Division I cheerleading team. And then I went to UCF for my first year of college. And in that fall of my first semester of college, I really kept diving into nutrition. And I started falling in love more with weight training than I did with cheerleading. And then my grandma got diagnosed with colon cancer. And that was in the middle of the fall. And I started even more diving into the literature on colon cancer nutrition and preventative nutrition and how to prevent chronic disease and how to help with her symptoms management. And I was just at awe with everything in the literature. And I was like, wow, nutrition is so powerful in changing lives and preventing chronic disease and helping people not only just survive, but thrive in their day-to-day lives. And it was funny because I was actually like, I had been so set. I get into these weird things. Well, if I have an idea, I run with it. And my dad had just flown out to look at houses for me to purchase a home in Orlando, Florida. And it was that exact day that he came and we had looked at a house and I was sitting in, I remember one of my classes, I was in biomedical sciences. That was my degree. And I had been doing the research for nutrition in regards to bodybuilding, changing physiques, and in regards to helping my grandma and chronic disease prevention. And I was just sitting in one of my labs and I was like, what am I doing right now? I don't want to be stuck in a lab. I want to be working hands-on with people. I want to be changing lives. And yes, if I'm working in a lab, I'll be changing lives. But at the same time, I'm not going to be working with people. I'm going to be working with mice or with rodents or with bugs, something. And so it was funny because I was like, you know what, Dad, because he was there. I was like, Dad, I don't want to buy a house anymore. I want to change my major. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm changing my life. I'm moving. He's like, what? So it was just an awe-opening moment. And I say that was God. That was God speaking to me saying, this is your passion. This is the route I want you on. So I took a leap of faith and right that day I applied to the University of Georgia. And that was my new path to become a dietitian. And in that path, you know, I kept focused on NPC bodybuilding. I did a bodybuilding prep in the spring, but that is essentially how I became on the path to be an RD.
Wow. So basically you just listened to your heart. Like
I did very much so.
Yeah. I mean, it really just sounds like you were really in tune. I mean, you could have easily wasted and I say wasted bluntly, and I hope that's okay, but like 3 or 4 more years of your life just to finish college, just to think that this is what you're supposed to do. But instead you nipped it in the butt and you were just like, no, this doesn't feel right. I'm going to do something about it. And you took action, and now here you are.
Yeah. And no doubt, like I quote unquote wasted a lot of credits and money in working on my degree prior. But at the same time, I don't feel that those were wasted. I gained so much knowledge from every single course and all that.
Yeah, totally. And it's what made you realize you needed to make the transition. Yeah. I think everyone has a responsibility to go through a path because we think that's how we're supposed to go is one thing, but then to recognize like we know deep down this isn't for us, and then to continue to go down that path. I think that's where we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves and like make a decision. And it sounds like you really did that. It was probably really scary and it wasn't easy. You like looking back now, you're just like, yeah, no, I'm going to change my major. But I doubt it was that easy in the moment.
That's the weird part. It was easy.
Really?
It was no doubts about it. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I had to do, and I decided and I made it happen.
Wow. Yeah. So that's power of your mind for sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm very much, if I have something that I want to get done, I will make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the mindset you need to do a bodybuilding competition.
Oh yes, hands down.
So explain, there's a difference between bikini and bodybuilding, correct?
Yes. So in doing bodybuilding shows, there are different affiliations, different organizations that run shows. So you have the ability to do NPC, which is connected to IFBB. NPC is the amateur. IFBB is the pro league. So those are not drug tested organizations. Then you have other organizations that are drug tested. So you have the WNBF, you have the INBF, you have NGA, you have IPL. So there's so many different organizations that you can do for bodybuilding, but essentially different organizations have both an amateur league and a pro league. So in order to get to the pro league, you have to go through a lot of qualification standards and winning shows, et cetera, in order to get to the pro league.
So it sounds like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you started doing weight training, fell in love with it, and now all of a sudden you're like doing a competition. You kind of got into it. Did you question it, or were you hesitant, or now doing it, looking back, like, I guess like, were there any barriers along the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there were like, yeah. So like, talk more about that. Because I feel like a lot of people do that. They get really excited, and sometimes it could be great. Like sometimes it's like, let me just jump right in. Let me do this. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. I'm finding a way. But then sometimes if you're not fully prepared, I feel like it could be a lot harder of a journey rather than having like a little bit of more information prior, which is what I kind of want people to get out of this podcast episode, is really kind of knowing what they're getting themselves into if they do decide they want to go that route.
Yeah. So I could dive into what barriers I went through, but I would rather just give people practical tips for what to look for in order to know if competing would be right for them. So the first thing you have to figure out is, what is your why? Why do you want to compete? Is it in order to try something new? Do you have a new journey for yourself? Is it because you think you should, because social media, there's so many people competing and you think you need to? Is it because you want to prove it to somebody? Because then those reasons are not the right reasons. The only reason you should ever compete is because you love weight training, you love fueling your body with nutritious foods, and you want to push yourself. You shouldn't ever do it for anybody else or to prove yourself to anyone, because you do not have to prove anything to anybody but yourself.
100%. That's so important.
It really is. And people, I know I've had clients ask me like, should I compete? This guy the other day at the gym told me that I should compete. I have the muscle density to do X and Y. And I'm like, that's not why you should compete. You should compete because that's what's in your heart. That's your passion that you want to tackle. Not because you feel like you should.
Yeah. Anything that you feel like you should do never works out.
No,
yeah,
I agree.
So I think that that's really great that Yeah, that's huge, because if not, I think if people are do it for the wrong reasons, and unfortunately, I know a lot of people might have like a disordered way of eating, and they kind of justify it by doing a competition, or they have poor body image issues, and they find that, oh, if I just get to that leanness, I'll be fine and I'll be better. That is not what you want to do. That's like a fair warning to stay far away from a competition if you think that doing the competition is going to make you appreciate your body better.
Exactly. And let's talk about that. The dangers of competing too. You know, it's very important in order to do a prep that you have a healthy relationship with food. You have a healthy relationship with yourself. And that you have a healthy body. So you're eating enough right now. Your calories, your macros are high enough in order to start a prep. Your cardio is low enough to start a prep. You have the muscle density in order to do well in a show, because it is bodybuilding. So you have to have that muscle density. But the most important thing is that food relationship, in my opinion, that mental health. Because going into a prep is not going to do anything but decrease your self-worth and your self-love, because it gets tough. It's hard on you. You go, and during prep, you essentially get goggles on and you don't really see yourself for who you really are. You start to get hyper-focused on little things that you would have never looked at before. Like, oh my gosh, my abs aren't this, my delts aren't this, and you start comparing yourself even more than you would not doing contest prep. So it's really important, if you do a prep, that you don't have any history of disordered eating, and that you love your body now for what it looks like, what it can do, and you look at it as the amazing blessing that it is. I see so many people think that they should do a bodybuilding prep and think that if they can just get to that body, that they will love themselves, that they will love their body. And that's not the way it is. Doing a contest prep, once you get to that body, like, changing your body won't make you love yourself even more. Self-love comes from a place from your heart and within. And you have to make sure that you learn to love yourself and respect yourself before you start changing your body. It's a day-to-day choice to focus on that self-love, to focus on your blessings. And just doing a show, sadly, like you said, people will think that just doing the show will get them to where they want to be, make them feel better, help them love themselves. But that's not the way it is.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And like you said, it has a potential of making that negative mindset even worse. Because you become, if you're already going in critical and it makes you critical, you then become hypercritical. So it does the opposite of what you intended.
Yeah. And people get so food focused too. And it really kills me, because people they will understand like flexible dieting and being able to go out and have social interactions and being able to eat foods that aren't they have untracked meals. And then they'll do a bodybuilding prep and they start becoming so hyper focused on their macros that they're afraid to go off of it. And that's such a red flag. Yeah.
Do you know anyone that started to prep for a competition and then stopped because they saw the signs?
Several. Yeah. I have a lot of clients that have been like, already, either your body's not responding the way it should be, and we're going to have to dig so low to where I'm not comfortable prepping with you anymore. So those people, and then I have the people where they start developing disordered eating, and I'm like, no, we don't need to go this route. We need to make sure we start actually going the opposite direction and adding in intuitive eating and more untracked days and fixing your relationship with food. And then there are people that have the health issues. So we start figuring out, hey, they might have an autoimmune disease. Hey, their digestive issues are just so bad that we don't even need to think about prepping and making things worse, because when you diet, your digestive system slows down.
I am just like so thankful for you. And I really mean, and I said this before we started recording, because it's like, I'm grateful, but I'm also sad because I'm thinking of the people that don't do this. So it's like, just bear with me right now. But like, there are so many, unfortunately, nutrition coaches out there that will see their clients going through these signs and they'll express them. And whether it's a money thing or maybe a lack of education thing, or I don't know what it is, but most coaches will just have them push them through them. It's like, here, take a probiotic. Here, like, this is, oh, okay, that sucks. We're almost done. Right. But I think that the fact that you are a nutrition professional with credentials and personal experience, and the fact that you're okay to tell someone, listen, right now is a time for healing. It's not appropriate. If we can heal you, then maybe in the future we could talk about this. But right now, I don't feel comfortable putting you in that position, damaging your health, because that's the ultimate goal is overall health, right? It's not about the short term. And I just want to say thank you, because I don't think that there's enough. And I'm sure there's dietitians too. So I don't want to just say it's just nutrition coaches. There's good, there's bad, there's everything in all spaces. But I just want to say thank you for being just a responsible professional and just someone who's out there that genuinely listens to their clients and honors that and gives them proper guidance even though it's not always what the person wants to hear.
Well, thank you. It's very hard to do with clients, and it's hard to say, hey, I know this is what you want to do, but you don't need to do it right now. But it's something that's very important to do. And another thing to keep in mind is when people, and I had just a client actually a few weeks ago, we had this conversation, somebody who was really starting to hate their workouts. Hate cardio, hate the workouts. And the whole point of competing is to actually enjoy the whole working out aspect and to enjoy the journey. And if you start hating the journey, then that's a red flag for maybe this journey isn't for you.
Totally.
So there's definitely a lot of things to keep in mind.
Yeah. What else? What are other things people should keep in mind if they're considering to doing a prep?
So you definitely have to be willing to sacrifice social outings, sacrifice time with your spouse, sacrifice sleep. Even though I always say with my clients, I would rather you prioritize sleep than prioritize a workout, because we don't need to grind into the ground. I definitely say you need to make sure that you focus on that relationship with yourself and your food, like we've discussed. And then the biggest thing is money. Are you financially fit to compete? Because people don't realize how expensive competing is. You're looking at thousands of dollars.
Wow. Yeah. Cause, you basically, I'm assuming, I'm just going to say what my thoughts are, but you can tell me if there's anything else, but to do it right and to do it well, you should definitely hire a nutrition coach, a registered dietitian.
In order to do it well. Yes.
Yeah. Like you need, definitely, I know for me personally, it's crossed my mind in the past, and I was like, okay, I need a trainer just for accountability. Obviously to tell me what to do, but like, I want them there because I'm not going to want to do this for long.
Well, like I say, I become bad shit crazy. Like I look at myself, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be ready. And then some days I'm like, oh my God, I'm ready. Woo.
Yeah.
You get those prep goggles on. So you have to have somebody to be an objective eye.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk more about that. So financially, who are you investing in? What are you investing in? How does it end up being thousands of dollars later?
Yeah. So you have your coach you're investing in, training or nutrition, whatever you do. So hundreds of dollars with months.
Are you a certified personal trainer too, or no?
Yes.
I wasn't. You are. I thought so. You didn't say that, but I did. I saw that. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I tend to just leave that part out most of the time. Because I feel like everybody and their mother is a personal trainer these days.
But do you train people? I'm not.
Not in person.
But you'll like give them, so part of your programs you'll do. Oh, cool. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. So you're good. So you have your trainer. You have your NPC card, which is already $120. You have the show fees, which tend to be from $100 to up to $150 for registration. And that's just doing one class. So if you do multiple classes, that adds up. You have your suit, which if you're getting a good suit, it's minimum of $300 all the way up to $600. You have your tan, that's always around $120. You have your hotel and your travel fees, which if you're doing a show close to home, then you don't really have to worry about that, but that adds up. And then you have your posing heels, which can range from $35 for the cheap, uncomfortable ones to $60 for the really comfortable ones. You have jewelry that you have to get. So that's around normally like $40. But all this stuff adds up. Oh, and then you have skincare prep. So making sure that you're exfoliating correctly, shaving correctly, making sure that, for show day, you have your hair and your makeup set. I know for me, one day of makeup is normally around $150.
Yeah.
And then you can always do your hair, but honestly, it's always, I always say invest. If you're going to do a show, just know it's going to be expensive and invest in yourself, because you can have the best body, but if you do not show up on stage looking fabulous and 100% like a supermodel, then you're not going to do your very best.
Right.
It's the whole entire picture, the whole entire package. Oh, and I forgot to mention posing.
You pay
for posing too.
You pay for people to help you with posing, like a choreographer.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's what it is choreography.
Well, yeah, I know that do you do like an actual, like make up your own choreography, or is everyone's posing the same? Because I feel like I've seen people where they've made up their own.
So there are essentially different poses that you can do, the main poses. So NPC and some other organizations for natural, they have where you do just a front pose, you do a side pose, turn around, back pose, come to the front, and then you're done. And there's other organizations like natural ones where you do T-walks. So that's super important, and you have a lot more time on stage. Like,
yeah, that's what I've seen.
Versus like 2 minutes, 3 minutes for natural. But basically, your transitions can make or break you. So it's very important to have somebody to help you form those transitions and fix your front poses, because you have to make sure that you are showing off your highlights and not the negative parts of you.
Wow. So, okay. So how many people actually, when you go to do the show, but how many women are there? And then how many winners are there?
Definitely depends per show. Smaller shows, sometimes there's like 6 people on stage. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are 25 people on stage with you. Mm-hmm. And normally nowadays they only will place 1 through 3. Some they do 1 through 5. So it totally depends on what show you're at and the level of the qualifier or not.
And then when you win, do you win money? I know some people win a qualification to do at other shows. Like tell us more about that. Because now here you are investing all this money. So what's really the end result? It sounds like it really has to be like a personal thing.
You get a plastic trophy. Congrats.
Wow. So
that's what you win. But if you get first or second place in a national qualifying event, you qualify for nationals. This is NPC. So once you get to nationals, if you win first or second place or first place, depending on the show, or overall, depending on the show, there's so many different rules, then you win a pro card. Okay. So you got to win or get second place in order to qualify. So once you get qualified, you go to nationals. Okay, you win. You get a pro card. Well, you still don't get money. You get a little card. Cool. That's a title. Then you go to the pro stage. And nowadays there's so many different pros. This is not to knock down anybody being a pro or wanting to be a pro, but then you get to the pro stage and say, hey, you win a pro show. Well, a lot of those pro shows nowadays don't even pay you. So say you win a pro show, you don't get money. You literally have to get to the top high-end competitions like the New York Pro, and you get first place and you get like $5,000. Third place gets like $1,000. And then you have the only shows that actually pay a good amount are the Arnold Australia, the Arnold Columbus, and the Olympia. That's where they pay you $25,000 to win.
Wow.
So you don't get money other than that. You pay.
And it sounds like unless you're like the elitist of the elitist.
Elitist of the elite.
But chances are to get to that point, you'd probably you're spending a lot more money.
Yeah. So I say never get in it for the money.
Yeah. So, but I think that's important to know. Yeah. You're actually spending more money than it. And I think it really, at the end of the day, it's more for your own personal growth. I also know a lot of personal trainers that choose to do it because it helps them like with status. Have you noticed that?
Yes,
I hear a lot of people that'll say that they're going to do it because they want to just be more known in the space and they think that it'll bring more clients and stuff like that. Do you feel like
all just because of superficial things like somebody's body, what they look like? People are like, looking at social media. So if somebody comes up and there's a picture like, oh my God, I want to look like them, then potentially they might reach out to that person. And that is a whole nother issue. Like I told my friend Laura Ligos, the sassy dietitian, she calls them abfluencers. So Yeah, I love that. And she's like, people reach out to abfluencers because they want their abs or they want their body. And that's the reason a lot of people do NPC shows. And that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of backtracking a little bit, one thing you said is like, if you're going to do this, so we know that money is something you're going to have to sacrifice. And then social outings, and I think there's some importance because you mentioned that you work with people who want to do competitions, but you also work with people who want long-term sustainable change and balance. And you and I both know as registered dietitians who help people with that, I know I talk about it a lot. It's like finding, you should be able to go out with your family. You should be able to navigate restaurants and all of that. But I think it's important for people to recognize, like with a competition, it's short term, but there are sacrifices that need to be made if you want to do it well.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? The first couple weeks or months of your prep, you can enjoy going out to eat. You can be flexible. I have even some clients to where, and for me, up to like 3 weeks out, I'll let them go out to eat as long as they fit their meals and their macros. But then you get down to the wire and you can't go out to eat. You have to have the same foods in order for us to be able to control as much as we can.
Right. But is it more like the sodium portion or just control or all?
Yeah. So sodium will definitely play a role for the last 2 weeks, be 3-4 weeks out, 8 weeks, 16 weeks. I could care less about if somebody has a high sodium meal. Right. Because I'll know that. I'll be like, hey, did you have your untracked meal yesterday? Did you have your meal out yesterday? And then I know.
Yeah. So, okay. So what would you say is like the main thing that you help clients with? Like we kind of talked about a lot of things, but like what's the end goal when you're done working with a client? What do they usually say is like the biggest takeaway?
The biggest takeaway is them learning things about themselves that they didn't know before. Their dedication, their hard work, the fact that they could push themselves that much. Those are the biggest things that people take away. Now, the thing that I, of course, always help with is being the objective eye, helping them to keeping themselves as healthy as possible during a prep as they can, and then helping them reverse diet post-show. That's honestly, their reverse diet is the most important thing. And people forget about that. And so they'll do a show and then they're like, okay, woo, I'm done. Okay, let's eat. And I'm like, no, you have to have a reverse diet post-show. Yeah. That doesn't mean like staying in your deficit for long post-show, but that means slowly upping your food intake. Once get to maintenance and slowly up your food intake in order to maximize your metabolism and prevent a lot of body fat from just piling on and binge eating, because that's a whole other issue that happens.
Yeah, totally. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more as we
on reverse dieting?
Yeah, because I think it's really important. I know that a lot of people who listen to my podcast also follow. I'm also a co-host to the Gym Wits podcast, and we had actually my coach Toni come on and talk about reverse dieting. But I don't know how many people actually listened to that episode, and I think it would still be helpful because you are so right. People don't talk about that enough. At all, actually. I'm sure half the people listening don't even know what that is. So yeah, so just kind of talk about that, and then we'll kind of wrap up because I want to be mindful of everyone's time.
Yeah. So reverse dieting is essentially go in a period of time, increasing your caloric intake in order to maximize your metabolic capacity. So with dieting, and people can reverse diet whether they've been chronically dieting or they've done a contest prep. So with dieting, you downregulate your metabolism, you downregulate your NEAT levels, and you get your calories mostly to a point to where they're super low. So with reverse dieting, the first thing that you want to do is you want to get your calories to maintenance. And then you're going to slowly increase your calories, whether it be fat or carbs, depends per person. I like to start with carbs or fats. It depends on what they've been at. So if their fats are the lowest, get their fats up first. If the carbs are the lowest, get their carbs up first. And you slowly do that in order to prevent unwanted body fat from occurring. So yes, we want to get healthy body fat back on, but we don't want to pile on so much new body fat post-show, because studies show that brand new body fat is going to be more lipogenic and can be the hardest to get off.
Stubborn, they call it. Stubborn
Yes.
fat.
The most stubborn fat is that one you're going to pile on right post-show. So it's very important to get on the reverse to slowly increase your calories. And that's going to, in addition, help with your thyroid levels, your hunger levels, and making sure that we have healthy hormones.
Yeah. Which is like another thing, which we can go on about forever. Well, okay. So I think the biggest takeaway from that is, although you are mainly talking about post-show, it is very, very much, it's a strategy utilized in just a general clientele as well, because most women in particular, I find, are under eating and overtraining, whether they're doing a contest prep or not, just the way they're living their lives and constantly jumping from diet to diet, and in this like caloric deficit, but then binge eating or overeating as a result, and finding that fat loss is just so difficult to get off. So I think it's really important for anybody who's listening to recognize like everything we do has to be controlled and sustainable, and really looked at by a nutrition professional to kind of pinpoint where's the best way for us to make a change.
Yeah. And you know what? The thing with reverse dieting is that I'm glad nowadays it's less, but a couple years ago, it was the trend of reverse dieting and being able to increase your metabolic capacity while losing weight. And that's not what reverse dieting is. It's not losing weight while increasing your food. Reverse dieting is just working on your metabolic capacity. So for most people, that does mean gaining some body fat, gaining some weight.
Totally. That's a really good point. That's a really good point. You're basically, like you said, you have to create, you have to be healthy. You have to have healthy hormones. Everything needs to be healthy before we can work on fat loss and weight loss. And
it's putting your body in an optimized environment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, this has been amazing. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything we didn't talk about? Any kind of last minute things you want to mention?
Yeah, if you have an autoimmune disease, I definitely suggest being very, very, very careful if you want to do a bodybuilding prep. I would be wary if you have a history in regards to yourself or your family of any thyroid troubles or any hormonal imbalances, and just make sure you do your research and do your homework. Ask questions. Don't just hire a coach. Ask what their nutrition philosophy is. Ask their background. Make sure that who you're hiring is going to take care of your health first. Of course, coaches want to see you do well, so they're going to push you. But, when it comes down to it, you want to make sure you're hiring somebody who is going to take care of you versus just getting you to the stage.
Yeah, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. And I know that your Instagram page, I love your format, by the way.
Thank you.
It's very educational and informative and very easy to follow. So just remind everyone of your Instagram handle.
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is @faithandfit, and then I have another one that my current, I call Team Uplift, helps run, is @UpliftFitNutrition.
Great. And so if anybody has any questions, they can message you on Instagram. Do you have an email address? I have your email. I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, so my new email, because I just got a new one, is Lacey Dunn @upliftfitnutrition.com. If you have any questions, you can always email me, and then you can DM me on Instagram, as long as it's not like personal, like what should my macros be? These are my labs, because I get a lot of that. I'm like, you can't send me health information via social media, please.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Please. Yeah. We get in trouble for that.
Yes, we do. And then I'm like, I'll be like, okay, cool. There's a photo, and I look up and it's like somebody's like personal labs. I'm like, I can't do that over social media.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And not for nothing. Like, even if that's still not enough information to help.
Exactly.
Yeah. We need a lot more information. But I think general questions they can direct towards you.
Oh, hands down. I'm always happy to help.
Yeah.
And if anybody does not follow or listen to my own podcast, I have a podcast, Uplift Fit Nutrition, and I cover all the scientific truth in the world of fitness and nutrition. So I have a lot of Q&As, a lot of things on competing and reverse dieting. And so definitely check that out.
Yes. Thank you I meant to re-ask you about that. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, Lacey. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have a feeling people are going to love this episode.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, thank you again, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Hope everybody has a great day.
Bye. Is she not like the sweetest person ever? Sidebar. Definitely go follow her. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot it, share it on your story, and tag us and let us know that it resonated with you. Please, if you are considering doing a bikini competition, please reach out to Lacey. She definitely knows her stuff and she can send you in the right direction. If you're really just in the beginning stages of your nutrition journey, I highly encourage you to focus on developing healthier habits and behaviors, developing a healthier relationship with food first, and then maybe reconsider in the future. So if you need help with that, you want to join my healthy lifestyle support group on Facebook, you can find the link in the bio. And we are a community of people who really are just striving to be the healthiest version of ourselves, one bite at a time. If you didn't know, that's my slogan. That's my logo's Tips with Toni, and my slogan's helping you get healthy one bite at a time. So if you did like this episode, once again, please share it, subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone who you feel needs to hear this. I think that's really helpful as well. The more people listen to the podcast, the more opportunities I have to create more episodes for you. So thank you again. As always, this is Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.